Welcome to IS50, game development. This is a fun class. There's going to be some work, but there's going to be a lot of fun too. So we're going to play some games, we're going to make some games, we're going to talk about games, and overall you should learn, like learn some math. You're going to learn what goes into game development. You're going to learn maybe if it's an industry you want to go into. The game industry is big. It's a big field. Cyberpunk 2077, despite being a rather famous failure, depending on your perspective, has made CD Projekt Red a lot of money. It is a giant game release, and Nico says best class. And the field in general is gigantic. A lot of money is spent on video games. I expect it to be bigger than Hollywood this year, especially since Hollywood can't make movies very well. Tom Hanks, was in Australia filming a movie and got COVID, right? And video games can be made remotely. So who knows? Maybe it's a big year we take over Hollywood as the number one entertainment source. If you can get a video card. I've been trying to get a 30 series video card since launch, and I've been on the waiting list from EVGA, and it's never popped. Cool, awesome, well done, team. Poured 116 hours into Cyberpunk, and you're still kind of disappointed. I spent 150 hours on Cyberpunk. That was my winter break, basically. I 100%ed it, every achievement, every car, every point on the map, and I had fun. There's problems. There's problems with it. The biggest problem I have with it is actually not the T posing. Like I don't care. Like I don't know if you guys have seen this, like in Cyberpunk, but when when there's no animation for a character in Cyberpunk, they T pose, and so they'll just sit there in like John Wick or Keanu Reeves. In the final mission, he's just standing there T posing while you're fighting all these people. Um, it wasn't that kind of stuff that bugged me. The thing that bugged me about the game was the game balance. The game is fluctuates between way too easy and way too hard, and so that's maybe something we could talk about later. But um, I as a game design professor have kind of a critical eye on video games like that, and things like graphical glitches, or occasionally you're riding your motorcycle and your character stands up on it pantsless, that kind of stuff. Doesn't bother me really. And it's a bug and will get fixed. But sort of systemic things like, is the combat too hard? Is the combat too easy? That bugs me a lot more, because that means there was a design problem. And there's some design problems with Cyberpunk that I think are bad. That said, I played it 150 hours, 100%ed it, got every trophy. And overall, I'd give it like a B plus, around that range, something like that. You do the suicide run Johnny T poses. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, it's just standing there like this, showing dominance over the Arasaka horses. Game was way too easy. I played it on hard. What did you play it on, Lave? Very hard. Yeah, yeah. That said, if you ever fight something that's above your level, it's the enemies are all just bullet sponges, which is very boring game design. So if you're fighting a very hard encounter when you're on a hard difficulty, you can just sit there and headshot enemies over and over again, and it's just like taking off 1% of their health. It's not good game design, in my opinion. The police are another shit. Yeah. Hacking is really good. Yeah, hacking's good. Tech weapons are really good. You can shoot enemies through barriers, and so all you have to do is hide behind a wall and headshot them through walls. They don't ever move, and so I had a sniper rifle that could shoot through walls. And so on a very hard encounter, I just go around a building and headshot them over and over again, and after 50 bullets, they would die. Is it worth it? I wouldn't buy it right now. I'm glad they released it when they did. I'm actually not mad that they released a buggy game, because it allowed me to play it over winter break when I could actually sit down and just play it. So I'm actually happy it came out. I'm not mad, right? But if you haven't bought it yet, I would probably hold off on it because by this time next year, it's probably going to be a good game. They just needed more time polishing it. Honestly, they needed another year of development put into it. So, and it's not a $60 game in my opinion right now. Okay, so hacking is easier. Ping them and hack them through walls. Yeah, yeah. Like I had an ultimate hack. It's several ultimate hacks that could kill people remotely without having any line of sight on them. And so all you had to do was just sit there and wait for a minute, and then you can kill them, with impunity. Yeah. Anyway, Cyberpunk 2077. But the that's the kind of discussions we're going to have in this class. So in this class, we're going to be doing discussions of what we liked about games, what we didn't like about games, what design decisions did the developers make that were good and what were bad, and how would we do it differently. Um, in years past, we've gone into detail on Pokemon Go and why Pokemon Go is a terrible game or a good game, depending on your perspective. I think it's more of a. I don't think I don't consider Pokemon Go a game at all. I consider it an exercise app, and I use it as such. So it's my step counter. You know, it's I walked 27 kilometers last week using Pokemon Go. Just like 16 miles. I walked with Pokemon Go. So that's good because in the quarantine, I'm not getting enough exercise. But as far as the game, I think Pokemon Go is not a very good game as far as being a game. Freedom units. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so what are we going to do in this semester? What are we going to do? All right. We are going to do stuff. We're going to do 4 stuffs. We are going to have 4 topics we're going to be covering in this semester, and we're going to be bouncing back and forth through them. So this is actually 2 classes in one. This is IS50A and IS50B because historically speaking, there haven't been enough students to warrant a separate section of IS50B. Now there are. We actually have like 15 students in IS50B right now, which is really awesome. In semesters past, there's been between 1 and 4. And so typically those students just kind of sit in on IS50A and then I give them like different homework assignments. But there's actually like a lot of students. So in general, the way that I'm going to structure this is Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to be the IS50A stuff, and Fridays are going to be the IS50B stuff. And you're welcome to go to any of those lectures. If you want to sit in on the IS50B lectures, go for it, but they're going to have different homework assignments. If you're in A and B, there's different homework assignments, but you're always welcome to come in and hang out. Nico, who was here a second ago, he's a friend of mine. He'll pop in. He's very opinionated on different games and talks about game decisions and things like that. He's friends with some of the developers at Blizzard, for example, and he talks about a lot of the decisions that Blizzard made over the years. And it's just a fun class. And so, just welcome. You're welcome to come to the other lectures. And we're going to be doing some stuff in common between the two, like we're going to be playing games and things like that. For that, it'll be both halves of the class. So 50A is first semester game development, 50B is second semester. And so by the end of a year of game development, you should have a pretty solid foundation for game development. And after taking a year with me, you should be able to go off to Irvine or Santa Cruz, which are 2 colleges that have game design bachelor's degrees. You can actually go and get a 4-year degree in game design and graduate from there and maybe get a job in industry. Or alternatively, you could go there for computer science with a specialization in game design, which is what I would do personally. I would get a quote unquote real degree and then just specialize in game design. Because a game design major is not going to get you a job at a bank. A computer science degree will. And so if you have a game design major, you're going to be doing games the rest of your life, right? If you have a computer science degree, you can do games, but you could also work for Chase Manhattan or the Department of Defense, who usually don't hire game majors. So, all right. So this class is going to be all online. You're going to need to get a group. You're going to be in a group of 4. And what I would highly recommend is grouping up with your friends, people you like. If you don't know anyone, then I want you to post what time you like working together, because that's the biggest thing. You guys are going to be playing games together, video games, war games. Yeah, this is for my summer class. We're not meeting every day from noon to 4. That's summer session. But you are going to need to be in a group. Okay. So post on Discord right now. Hey, I need a group. And I'll set up groups in a second on Canvas and I'll let you guys sort yourselves out into it. Everything's recorded. I recommend being here, being live for every class. Looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 until 12, 13. We have 14 people out of like 40 here. And so that's not great. That's not a great sign. I would highly recommend you guys be here if at all possible, because it's just a lot more interactive when you're here and you're talking and, um, we can interact and give feedback to each other and things like that. It's a lot better. It works a lot better. The students that don't show up to Discord and don't participate, like they just tend to just vanish off the face of the earth. So that's not good for their grades. It's like why take a class if you're not going to go for it? Yeah. Every semester I've taught this, there's been some students that show up, that enroll and then just never show up, and it's like, why are you enrolling? It's no point. Okay, summer school, 1 day classes, a week of school. Not quite as bad there. All right, so the there are four. Let's see, I did different. That was my summer school intro. Yeah, I'll just pull up the syllabus. Okay. So there are four topics we're going to be talking about, and so you're going to earn points in these four topics separately. Okay, and we're gonna rotate through these topics. You're going to be doing a little Unreal Engine now, a little Unreal Engine later, and as you do things in Unreal Engine, you'll earn points in the Unreal Engine section. When you mod games, you're going to earn points in the modifying games section. When you learn the math of gaming, you're going to earn points there. And I'm not going to. In years past, I've sort of segregated them. Like we're doing nothing but talking about games for a month, and then when I got into a month of math, like half the class dropped out because we're like, this isn't fun at all. As it turns out, you really need to know math. There's a very specific kind of math you need to know. It's easy. It's addition and subtraction and multiplication. It's easy. But there is a certain kind of math you have to know in order to make video games. Have to know. And when I switched last semester from a month of we're playing video games and talking about video games to a month of nothing but math, like half the class dropped. This isn't fun anymore. So I'm going to sort of intersperse it. I'm going to break it up, talk a little bit here and a little bit there, and you're going to sort of earn points in these four categories through the semester. There's no final, there's no midterm. There is a final project that's going to be in the Unreal Engine section, and there's also a project you can do in modifying games. And so those are the two big point earners in those categories. And then the rest of the things, you're just going to play video games and talk about them. That's fun, right? Like your homework for this class will be like, play a board game with your group and talk about it. Like that's pretty cool if you ask me. Like I wish that all my classes could be like that. Taking discrete math. Well, instead of writing a Dijkstra's algorithm, play Letters to Whitechapel, which has pathfinding on it. Don't you need to use trig for AI pathing? Yeah, you need to know a little bit of trig and stuff like that. We'll get into that in a bit. There's nothing really hard about the math, but I think students just didn't want to spend a month doing nothing but math. So I was watching the engagement, and right when we got to the math section, it went like that, and it was after the early drop deadline, and so a lot of students ended up getting like Fs in the class because they just stopped coming. And so I'm gonna intersperse it, and so you can get a feel for the class earlier on. So the email
question for her.
Yeah. Why are you headbutting me? All right. So the email I sent out to you guys and the welcome letter on Canvas has everything, all the prerequisites you need for this class. Make sure you get a Windows laptop if you don't have one. This class does require Windows. The school does check them out. So
Sure.
I don't have her on messaging, just email. Go to Outlook, top left corner, and then click on Donna Williams and send an email. Okay, so yeah, try to be on Discord during class times. That's really important. Helps a lot. Make sure you have Steam installed. Make sure you have Tabletop Simulator installed, and make sure you have Unreal Engine installed. So that's going to look something like this. So yes, this class does require Steam, and so good messaging me. And so after you add me on Steam, I will accept from Minkrelli, and then send me a message saying who you are, so I can tag you with your name, and I can categorize you into the class properly. So I do play video games. I don't know if that was obvious or not, but I do play video games, and my favorite video game would probably be Europa Universalis. That's kind of my number one video game right there. 600 hours in it. Still kind of a noob at it, but it's a really good game. Strategy games. All right, so Unreal Engine is installed by getting the Epic Games launcher, and slide that over here. And there we go. Any day now. And yeah, we'll be doing Tabletop Simulator. So your first homework assignment is you guys are going to partner up into groups of 4, and you are going to play a board game on Tabletop Simulator on Steam. All right. So Unreal Engine is installed by the Epic Games launcher. Go to the Unreal Engine tab. Go to Library. So Epic Game, Unreal Engine, Library, and then install whatever the latest version is. We'll install 4.26. Get that going. Any day now. Any day now. Click. Thank you. Okay. So always have the latest version of Unreal Engine installed. I'll get that going in the background. Unreal Engine's pretty neat. So let me just fire it up right now. Might be a little slow. I'm running all this off of a spinny disk because my SSDs get absolutely clobbered by Unreal Engine. It's unbelievable how much hard drive space it takes up. So I've moved all this to it. I've got a 10 terabyte spinny disk. It is Tuesday. So this is what I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So this is a back in the day, back when I was making video games, because I have worked in the industry a little bit. I worked in the industry for a couple of years. We used to make our own game engines, and let me tell you, that's a pain to do. It is really rough to make your own. Um, it is really rough to make your own game engines. And so nowadays, people launch a game engine like Unreal Engine, and they build their game inside of it. And if your game makes over $1 million, then Unreal Engine takes a cut of it, basically. And it's really easy to use. Again, we'll go over this on Thursday. So try and get a laptop and try and get this installed by Thursday. And you can just drag objects out and move them around. You can see the real-time shadows or anything like that. And you can make the box transparent, and there's all sorts of cool stuff you can do with it. But not going to worry about that now. Just make sure you get that installed and ready to go by Thursday. Unreal is 12 gigs to download. Tabletop is 1 gig. Epic is 500 megs, and Visual Studio is 50 to 100. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's to begin with. That's to begin with. So, yeah, I've downloaded some stuff. For example, how big is garden lawn? Like this, just one of these random things here. So Megascans were bought out by Unreal Engine. What Megascans are is these people, the Quixel people, they would go out into nature and they would do what's called photogrammetry. Photogrammetry is scanning things in real life into 3D. And so just some grass. Let's see how big this is. Add to project, Doge League. Let's see. Does it show you the size of it? It doesn't say what the size is. Let's see. Maybe it'll show the size here. Some of these mega scans are like, multiple gigabytes just, for one of them. This hopefully will be a little bit smaller. Come on. It's because it's downloading the other thing. Cancel it. But yeah, the Unreal people bought out the Quixel people, and so all of these mega scans are just free. And it is a fantastic resource. It's a fantastic, fantastic resource. Like you can make very realistic looking games for free. Yeah. So a bunch of different bits of clutter and stuff like that. High res scanned images of stuff in real life. Rocks and trees and stuff like that. So that's in game, and that looks pretty fantastic if you ask me. Get Quixel Bridge has far more. Yeah. So there's a yeah. Okay. Burst and 3D printer focused 3D art. Yeah. 1 TB external SSD, 2 TB spinning disk. Yeah. Um, yeah. My let's see. What do I have on my computer here? I've got a 1 TB NVMe SSD. That's my main gaming thing here. I've got a 2 TB spinny disk, a 223 gigabyte SSD, a 500 GB SSD. So I have a total of 1.75 gigs of SSD space, and I've got 12 terabytes of spinny disk. So you see my poor 2 TB full. Thanks, Unreal Engine. And this one, I've already got 2 TB of stuff on it. And so a lot of this is like, um, different student projects, and stuff like that. It burns through hard drive space fast. So
What is a last chance to purchase a Pokemon Go for
I'm not buying the Kanto tour at all. It's a way that Pokemon charges you more money. Okay. The Kanto tour? So they charge you like $13, and there's an event where all the Kanto Pokemon come out with shiny versions of all of them. Let's see, takes place in a month. Yeah, last chance, right? You're gonna sell those tickets up to the last minute. Chance to get a guaranteed shiny Mew. That's what they're selling $13 for. Yeah. So if you pay them $13 and you do the research task, you get a shiny Mew. Fantastic. All right. What's that? She's still in lecture right now, bro. Okay. So the four things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about principles of game design. We're going to talk about what makes a game fun, what makes a game balanced, what makes a game fair, enjoyable, all these kinds of things. How much player interaction is there? How much downtime is there? All the different principles of game design. And so we're gonna have a bunch of interesting conversations about that. And then you guys are going to make a board game using Tabletop Simulator, using the white box. The white box you can download on Steam. You can buy it in real life too and make a physical board game if you want. It's pretty cool. Holcomb wrote a bunch of essays for it that are pretty good as well. And the reason why we're doing board games is because board games allow you to talk about mechanics independent of actually having to implement them in like 3D, Unreal Engine, coding, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot easier to make tic tac toe on pen and paper than it is to code tic tac toe, right? And so we're gonna talk a lot about principles of game design. What is drafting? What is you know bidding? What are all these different elements that make up games? And then when you go on and make 3D video games, you will be able to um, think about them in your computer game. For example, yesterday I was talking to Pablo, one of my friends, about drafting. So, not even drafting, sorry, deck building. So, deck builders are a type of board game, card game, in which you start off with a bad deck of cards and you draw them and you play them and you play the cards to get better cards. And the better cards get added to your deck. And after you run through your deck, they get reshuffled. And so over time, your deck gets better and better. And some of the cards will delete cards out of your deck. So over time, you get better cards put in, you get rid of the bad cards, and your deck grows in power. And so that is a mechanism that's been used in a lot of board games. So Board Game Geek has a page where it talks about the different mechanics, the different elements, the different principles of board games. That these are the building blocks of games, and it's really important to think about them because a lot of people are just like, I want to make video games. It's like, all right, well, what kind of game do you want to make? I don't know. I want to make Call of Duty, but better. It's like, mm. Call of Duty's kind of got one competitor, Battlefield, and they have a big budget and you don't, and so it's like, it's tough. It's tough to try and take on a AAA company on their own terms, right? But if maybe you want to do Call of Duty with drafting, right? And drafting means you have a hand of cards and you pick one, you pass it to the next person, they pick one and pass it on to the next person. That's a cool, interesting mechanic that's used in a lot of board games. Haven't seen it used too much in video games, right? So it's probably an opportunity for Call of Duty with drafting, right? Like maybe there's tanks and airplanes, more of a Battlefield thing. There's tanks and airplanes, and so if you take the tank card out and you pass it to the enemy team, they can't take the tank card, and so there's a strategic, thing because like whatever you pass on goes to your enemies, right? And so that could be cool. That could be a fun game, and then it doesn't have to compete on the graphics side of things because you're going to lose to a AAA team. But if you have interesting game mechanics, you can make something really neat. Deck building is used in a lot of board games where you buy new cards and you add them to your deck. You buy a card, you add them to your deck, and then you can also pull cards out of your deck too. And over time, your deck gets better or more specialized or something like that. And so this is used in Dominion's the most classic, Ascension's another good one. Hero Realms, Star Realms, these are all board games, card games that use the deck building mechanic as the fundamental mechanic in the game. But there are video games that use deck building. Has anyone played any video games, by the way, that use deck building as their core mechanic? It's rarely a good idea to take on giant projects as a rookie. Yes. Start low, go slow, right? Do something manageable is a really good thing. MTG Arena. Magic the Gathering is not a deck builder because when you play Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or any of those kinds of games, you build your deck before the game, right? A deck builder, it's literally during the course of the game, you are buying cards from a common pool and you're building your deck as the game progresses. And so that's a different mechanic than Magic the Gathering, where you've got your pool of cards, you build a deck, and you walk up and you play. So Magic the Gathering Arena is you have your deck, they have their deck. A friend of mine made Magic the Gathering Arena, by the way, and he gave a talk last summer to this class. Um, Deck building is a form of microtransaction. Kingdom Hearts, Chains of Memory, Slay the Spire. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. So Slay the Spire is a great example of a game in which it doesn't have great art. It's something that's doable by an indie team. Oh, they're making a board game out of it. That's hilarious. That is too funny. That just came out a couple days ago. um, so I can't imagine this company has a giant budget, right? Like, let's see who made Slay the Spire. But I played a lot of Slay the Spire. It's a really, really good game, and it's not really Steam. Yeah, it's just a few dudes. That's what I would guess. Like, I don't know anything about the people that made it, but it's got the feel of like a company where it's just a small indie company, and it did really well. Mega Crit Games. Okay, so it came out in 2019. I played the hell out of it in 2019. I went to Europe and I had it installed on my laptop, and I played it across the Atlantic. So if you look at the artwork, like it's not. I mean, it's got a unique art style. Like it's got. I mean, I'm not like mad at the art, but you can tell it's not, you know, COD or one of these games. So $25. Okay, they're charging a fair bit for it. Um, but basically, they said, all right, we'll take Deck Builder and we'll take the roguelike genre and merge them together and make a roguelike Deck Builder, and it works really well. It is a fantastic game. Um, and Mega Crit Games. Let's go to their website. Let's see what we got here. Not an official. I know it's not. Buy the game. Look, they released it on all the different platforms. That's good. Good for them. Who are they? Who is support? Press kit. They just not have an about us. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, the point is like that they're an indie company that made it big. The Slay the Spire did very well. So I'm sure they've made millions of dollars doing it. Probably didn't cost $1 million to make. Hollow Knight, yeah. Oasis was a game that came out 10 years ago that did pretty well. It's an indie game. There's Among Us, of course, being this most recent indie hit. Among Us doesn't have great graphics. It's kind of got issues, with game design. It's kind of got issues with how the gameplay works, and it's not very big. There's only 3, maybe now 4 maps for it. But it was a fantastic hit, and I've had a lot of fun playing Among Us. Among Us was 2 people. Yeah. Outward, the game I've been playing a lot of recently. It's a 2-player cooperative RPG. Is made by. I've played 111 hours of Outward. It's a kind of a janky game. Like it's not like there are disconnects. It's a 2-player cooperative RPG. It's a 2-player cooperative RPG. Is what it is. And I like that. I really like the fact that it's a 2-player cooperative RPG. That's a niche that I really think needed to be filled, and they did a adequate job at it. There's disconnect problems and there's game balance issues and whatever, but like it's like it's got good reviews. 9 Dot Studio because it's 9 dudes. It's just 9 dudes in a garage somewhere who made it, and it's got a really weird art direction. Some things are like very serious, and then some things are just like absurdly, like just like my guy wears a luchador mask, you know. And so yeah, if you're an indie, you can make it big. Yeah, probably won't. If you look at the breakdown of how well games do on Steam, there's what's called a Pareto distribution, which means most people make no money, no money, no money, and then once you get towards the top 10%, they make all the money out there. Um, but even if your game does succeed, it's still a good experience for you, and it'll help you get a job at a studio if you want. Cave Story, Shovel Knight, Undertale, I think was probably indie, right? Undertale was pretty big a couple of years ago. Janky Dark Souls, speed builds OP, music's really good. You like Outward, yeah. Uh, Janky Dark Souls, I guess. Is it Dark Souls? The end game bosses are really hard. We were working our way through all of the end game bosses in Outward when the new thing came out. Undertale was one guy, yeah. Um, Braid, I don't know if you guys ever played Braid, but anyhow, the point is like if you take this class and you take the second class, no, I don't care about braids. Okay. Um, that was just Jonathan Blow, I think, who made Braid. Um, if you take this class, you'll have a good foundation for skills. It's not going to be enough on its own because game development is huge. Game development is a really huge field, and I can't help you with some things. I'm not an animator. I'm not a 3D modeler. I'm a coder, and so I know pretty well how to code stuff in games, um, but I can't help you with the more arty side of things. And game development majors like UC Irvine and UC Santa Cruz, about half the people there aren't programmers. They're like art people. And so typically they're organized into groups with some artists and some programmers working together to make games. I can't really help you with that. I'm learning more on the art side of things. Every semester I learn more and more. I wouldn't call myself an artist. Um, dabble in many aspects of tech. Yeah, it's good. The more skills you have, the better. But you really, there's two schools of thought on it, right? One is you need to know everything, and the other is you need to be really good at one thing. And I think both are true. So, for example, if you want to make video games, you kind of need to know how 3D modeling works, and what goes into modeling and how triangles work and all that stuff. But if you're just like kind of at making 3D models, you're not going to get hired by a game company. Because if they're hiring you to be a modeler, you need to be good at making models. If they're hiring you to be a coder, you have to be good at coding. It's nice if you know how to model as a coder, but they're not going to hire you for it. They're hiring you for whatever position they're hiring you for. So you need to be good, like good at one thing. But then everything else is good also. All right. If you can make the music for your game, cool. You don't have to hire somebody for it. You can make art, cool. So I think you both have to be good at one thing and have like a good broad background and stuff too. And you're going to have to also learn to be just good at self studying. um, I'm going to show you guys how to self study, but like if there's something you want to do, like like a stealth system or something like that, then you'll need to be like, all right, let's see if I can find some examples of a stealth system in a video game and research it on your own, right? Because the games industry is huge, okay, and there's a lot of topics out. And I will do my best to give you guys the foundation of the most important stuff. All right. So math. Uh, Irvine doesn't teach math. Apparently, I had a student do a game development minor there, and they don't teach math. Santa Cruz doesn't teach math, which baffles me because when I started working in the industry, literally the first day I was there, they handed me a math textbook, and they're like, "Read these chapters and understand them by next week." And I was like, "All right, cool." But I'm not going to be here next week. And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm going on vacation. It's been a tough week." So I literally worked at this game, doing virtual reality video games for a week, and then I went on vacation. It was my I just graduated from high school. They hired me out of high school to do video games, and it was my senior trip. So when they hired me, like the guy hiring me knew that I had this trip to Puerto Vallarta planned, and but they're like, "Could you come in a week early?" And I actually got a lot of stuff done in that week. And then I took this math textbook with me and went to Puerto Vallarta, and I sat on the beach of Puerto Vallarta drinking Corona. I guess you can't say these days, but drinking Corona and enjoying Corona and reading math. And oh Lord, you really need to know it. So I don't understand how these colleges don't teach it. It's really, really important. And so we're gonna learn the math for video games, and then we're going to learn about modifying games. Modifying games is one of the best way of learning about games because you don't have to build it from scratch, right? Like if you're gonna learn to become a house builder, they don't just your first day on the job. You've never done it before. Here's some wood, some hammers, some nails. Go. Like no, you start working on other people's houses. When you start painting, you study other people's art. You know, they don't just hand you a bucket of paint and a paintbrush and be like, go. You'll learn along the way. No, you study other people's art. And so one of the best ways of learning how games work is you start with something that's already been done. All the architecture's been done. All the art's in there. All the AI's in there. All the music's in there. And you can look and see how they do it. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So that's how they solve that. Okay. How do you hit a button in a video game, right? Like in some games, you walk up and just bump your face into it, and the button goes in. And otherwise, you have to hit the E key and use it. How does that work? How do you bind a key to to do use? And when you hit it, how does that translate into code? And what does that code do? How does it hit a button? And you can just see it. You don't have to come up with it on your own. You can see how it works. And so, um, and so, my personal philosophy is learning to mod games is very crucial. Like, um, because you kind of learn how to make games from the inside out. And you can start with just a really small thing. You can change it. You can see it work, and you don't have to build this whole thing to see just a little thing work. You can just go in and make a rocket launcher shoot two rockets instead of one. You don't have to build this entire game engine. You just change one little bit of code, and cool, I've got stuff, and I'm working, and I can see it in the game. That's cool. So, modding is really important. And then finally, we'll be learning Unreal Engine through the semester. And there's kind of two, maybe three, maybe four game engines right now that are used by a lot, maybe five. Unreal Engine, Unity, CryEngine, id id Tech 5 or 6, whatever they're up to now. And then there's a lot of minor ones like CD Projekt Red has their own Red engine. Godot is a free and open source game engine. Um, Steam has their engine. Just a little bit out of the fold, I should say now. Um, so yeah, and so we're going to be learning Unreal Engine, and the reason why Unreal Engine 4 is it looks really nice. Unreal Engine, in my opinion, has the best looking graphics. Maybe Red Engine is better, but um, oh, EA uses their stupid Frostbite engine. They don't make that available to other people, so um, you can't learn. Like even if you want to work at EA, I talked to them. I talked to EA last summer because a friend of mine works for EA, and I'm like, hey, how can my students get jobs at EA? And he's like, let me introduce you to my friend, the intern manager. I'm like, cool. So I talked to Melissa. She's a really wonderful woman, and my friend likes working for EA. Like, there's all sorts of horrible stories about EA, um, and maybe some of them are true. But this was after Anthem came out. He was kind of depressed for a while, but anyhow, he likes working for EA. And the I asked Melissa, I'm like, hey, if my students want to get a job at at EA, how can they learn Frostbite, the Frostbite engine, prior to working for you? And she's like, you can't. We don't share it with anyone. Like, cool. So you know, like if you want to have good programmers coming in, how do you can play Skyrim Girl? Why are you crying? Ada, why are you crying? All right, go play Skyrim. Yeah, it's like you know they have a problem. Like EA has a problem where they don't have enough good Frostbite programmers. Right. This is one of the reasons why their games have been flopping is because their CEO mandated that all of their games use the Frostbite engine, and it was originally made for Call of Duty, and it was a first-person shooter engine. And then they're like, all right, now use it to make a game where you have jetpacks flying around an open world RPG. Guess what? It didn't work very well, and it kept crashing. And then now use it for Mass Effect Andromeda, where you have entire planets you have to run around on. You know, like it just vomited, all over the place. And the trouble is there weren't enough people that were skilled at Frostbite, and so people were being pulled off of Anthem to make FIFA because FIFA uses the Frostbite engine. So you're using a first-person shooter engine to make a soccer game, and they couldn't get it to work. It was breaking, and FIFA is such a huge property. They pulled people off the Anthem team to go on to FIFA. Now Anthem isn't working right, so they pulled people off Mass Effect Andromeda to get Anthem working, and it's just a garbage situation. And if they had made it open like Unreal Engine is, you'd have just thousands of people around the world who were experienced Frostbite engineers, and you could take your pick of them, right? If the Epic Games, they're making Fortnite, I guess still. If they said, hey, we want somebody to program Fortnite, they would have 50,000 people with like 9 million years of experience on Unreal Engine on their own projects applying for that job. And they could hire the absolute top tier quality people at a low and affordable price because there's a lot of competition for it. You don't even have to pay them that much, right? That's one of the sad things about the games industry is that so many people want to work in the games industry. It lowers the wages because there's competition for it. You could hire a game programmer at 60,000 when if they were hired at Chase Manhattan, they'd be paid 150, right? So one of the sad things is that you don't get paid as much in the games industry because everybody wants to work in it. And so once you're in and you're good and you're known, then a friend of mine's been making 200, 300,000 a year since the 90s doing games because he's well known and he's skilled and people want to hire him. He gets hired away from other places. But entry level positions don't pay as much, and so because EA doesn't have the Frostbite engine open source, they're shooting themselves in the foot, and they're mandating using this engine that was not designed for the purposes they were used for, and it has caused untold headaches and problems over the past 5 years. I mean, they've been flopping. No Mass Effect game had really flopped, and then Mass Effect Andromeda comes out and it's garbage. And a lot of the problems were just engine problems because they were using the wrong engine for the job. So Unreal Engine is nice. It's open source. You can download all of the source for the engine. It's not even free to use. It's open source. Like the entire code base for it is available. And most importantly for me, it's the code that you write for Unreal Engine is in C++. And since I teach C++ for my computer science classes, the code you write inside of there is C++. If you're an IS50A, you're not going to be writing any C++. We save that for IS50B. So in IS50A, you do blueprints. You just drag and drop these blocks and you hook them up to each other, and it's easy. Source Engine 2, based on Valve's VR stuff, is going to be used in the Sequel to Gary's mod. EA is a money sink for licensees. Yeah, you have the source. You don't need it. Yeah, you're not going to need to do any programming like text coding really in IS50A. IS50B, yes. And so that's our semester. Any questions about it? We can get going with the first homework. FIFA, whatever. I don't play soccer games. You watch a YouTube video on how to use Unreal Engine? Yeah. I'll run. I'm going to run you through all the basics of it on Thursday. But for now, just any questions about the structure of the class, the grading. I'm pretty tolerant on grading. Just do your work. Simple as that. The people that failed the class didn't do the work. If you don't do the work, you get a 0. So, yeah. Generally speaking, if you do your work, you'll get an A. If there's like issues with it, or if it's like really low quality, like I might tell you to fix something, and if you don't fix it, then you'll get a lower grade. But in general, like most people who did the work got A's in the class last semester. It's not supposed to be a killer class. It's supposed to be a fun class. Are you in the whole group the whole time? Probably. Sometimes people drop out and then I have to reshuffle groups around. So let's get people. Let's go on to Canvas and create a groups thing here. First of all, are there any groups of people that want to work together, or partial groups, things like that? Got a group of 3. All right. Lave, what do you want your group to be called? Oh, just tell me the names. If any of you guys have preset groups or partially preset groups, just tell me right now. I'll create them. Everybody else, I will allow you to sort yourselves into groups. And what I recommend, Lave, Vacalar, and Rumas. All right. And we'll do this. And we'll do this. I have done Ramos or Rumas. Rumas? Ramos? On the class? You don't know his real name? Ramos. Okay. Oh, make sure that your username on Discord has your last name in it. I need to know who you people are. So, just your last name or Garrett. Uh, Garrett Gross. All right. So Ramos. Sorry. Okay. So uh, why don't you guys that are on Discord right now? Why don't you say what times you like to work together? Some people are early birds. Some people are night owls. Some you're like because you guys are going to be playing games together, right? And these games can take a couple hours, right? And so it's really important that you have the same hours available to play video games, right? So why don't you guys just post onto the Discord channel right now, and those of you at home, you can join up later. Um, why don't you membership limit of four, groups of four, or groups of less than four, and then we'll figure it out later. Why don't you guys post what hours that you want to play video games or board games? IS50 groups are going to be handled on Friday, yeah, between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. Um, it's pretty broad. 8 to 9, 7 p.m. to 10 a.m. Yeah. So go on to Discord right now and post what hours you want to work because that seems to be a pretty good way of um, getting the groups to be successful. 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Also, if you're not going to participate in a group, don't join the group. Last semester, I had some people like never show up for any group activities, and so it kind of hoses the group members. So if you're in that category, just don't sign up. All right, so Manfrelli. All right, so by the way, if you're not being serious, you should delete your things right now. All right, so let's say mhm, evening. Let's see, evening span. Julian Hernandez after 12 p.m. Okay. All right, so we're gonna start off with Span and Julian Hernandez. Oh, there's two J Hernandez. Start off with Span and Julian Hernandez in a group. That's like the evening people. Munkers is after 6 p.m., so I figure that'll work as well. All right. Main is going to be nighttime. So after, or main is afternoon, rather. All right, so we got main here. TR4BR, who are you? Change your name on Discord, please. Cha is afternoon to evening. Johnny Cha, are you related to Eric Cha by any chance? 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. That sounds like nighttime to me. Cha sounds like well. Stafford after 6. In that group. I guess I technically don't need to be recording this right now. Let's pause the recording. So I wasn't recording that. So what you guys are going to do is you're going to go on, you're going to form a group, and you are going to launch Tabletop Simulator, and you're going to play a game. And the assignment's going to be on Canvas. What you're going to do is Play tabletop simulator. Find a game that is interesting. No tic tac toe, Connect Four, none of that nonsense. Find a real board game, play it in your group, and then you're going to fill out this game analysis form. So name, ID, name of the game, how long you played it for, what genre it is, how many players, how fun was it? Letters from Whitechapel, which is a detective game where detectives are working together to hunt down a murderer. I find it very fun. It's a very interesting game. It's the police cooperate, but the police are hunting down the murderer, so it's kind of in the middle. It's mostly strategy. There's a little luck because you don't know where Jack the Jack the Ripper is, and there's a lot of player interaction. People are always talking to each other. There's little downtime because even on other people's turns, you're talking to them. It's it's a little hard to wrap your mind around. It usually helps if you have somebody that knows how to play it explain it to you. It's not too bad though. How much information do players have about the game state? So this is a very interesting game. It's a partial hidden information game. So hidden information means you don't know um, some of the state of the game. For example, Texas Hold'em. How many people here have played Texas Hold'em, like poker? You know, it's the most famous kind of poker in the world, I guess. Texas Hold'em. You guys play it? So in Texas Hold'em, do you know the state of the game? Do you know all the variables in the game, or do you know some of them but not all of them? So Texas Hold'em, the way it works is each person gets two cards, and those cards are face down. Those cards are hidden. You do not know what cards the other people have. If you do know, you're cheating, right? It's a hidden information game. You do not know what cards they have. And then the dealer is going to deal a series of cards face up in the middle of the board. That is that's revealed information. So it's partially hidden, it's partially revealed, and as they reveal cards, people bet. And you can try and deduce what their face down cards are based on how they're betting. Like if they bet a little bit and then they turn some cards up and they're sevens and all of a sudden they're like, I bet $5 million. You're like, okay, that guy probably has pocket sevens in his hand, right? And so a lot of the fun of Texas Hold'em is that there is some shared information, the cards in the middle, and there's some hidden information. So Texas Hold'em would be in the middle somewhere. For Letters from Whitechapel, Jack, the murderer, knows everything the police are doing. Jack knows the location of every police on the board, but the police do not know where Jack the Ripper is. He knows they know where the murder was, and they will progressively reveal information. What they do is they sweep the area and they can look for footprints basically, and so they can start finding the path that Jack the Ripper took away from the murder, and they can do a dragnet and try to um, contain Jack and catch him. And so it's somewhere in the middle between hidden and full information, but it's asymmetrical because Jack knows everything they know, but there's four of them and there's one of him, right? And so it's a very interesting, very very well balanced game, and you have to think like a lot, like okay, because it's not just one murder, it's four murders, and you have a place you escape to, and that place you escape to is the same every night. And so what happens on the first night is that Jack's probably going to get away the first night, but you know where the murder is, and you start searching for footprints, and you find a path leading to this part of London, and then he escapes. You're like, okay. And then the next night, there's a murder over here, and there's a path leading this way. You're like, okay, he's probably in this neighborhood. And the third night, you only got two more chances to catch him. Maybe you catch him on the third night, but if not, you've probably got a pretty good idea. Okay, his hideout is in one of these spots right here, and then you have police circling it, you know, putting a police barricade, and you know, and then Jack can get stuck because Jack only has like 14 turns to get back to his house. And so if he can't get through the police barricade, he runs out of time and he loses. The sun comes up and gets caught. So it's a very interesting design game. And so people playing Jack will do things like they'll travel in one direction and then they'll double back along their footprints and then go in a different direction. So the police think he's over here and they're running around not finding any footprints. And then he escapes. Okay. Very interesting game. Is it abstract or simulationist? So abstract games involve a lot of colored tiles that don't really mean anything. Um, only got a couple minutes left, so I'm just going to go through the vocab real fast. We'll talk more about this on on Thursday. But abstract games involve like tiles, that, like circles. Like, what game is that? I don't like. What is that supposed to be? I don't know. It's abstract. What is that supposed to be? I don't know. It's an abstract game. There's circles, there's squares, there's towers. Whereas a simulationist game would be like you got um, uh, primary concerns of game design, narrative, simulationist mechanics. You have like bombers, and you put infantry on the map and tanks, and it's trying to simulate the real world rather than being a square and a circle. Like, what is tic tac toe? Like, tic tac toe is abstract, right? It's an X and an O. So letters from Whitechapel, it's pretty much simulationist, I think. It's got a map of London. High or low skill cap. In other words, how easy is it to master? I would say it's high. It's a really hard game to master. How well does it handle players at different skill levels? An experienced Jack will probably destroy new players pretty well. But at the same time, like if one of the players is new, the other policeman can kind of help him out. So I'd say it's pretty well balanced. Even if you don't really know what you're doing, you'll have fun. Is it dexterity based or intelligence based? It's all intelligence. There's no flicking of pieces or anything like that. If there's like flicking of pieces, that's dexterity based. How balanced is it? I think it's really well balanced. Some people might disagree. Like my brother-in-law has never won as Jack, so he doesn't think it's that well balanced. But you know, he thinks he thinks you you score as Jack for the more nights you can go before you get caught. Because he's like, I've always wanted to get to the fourth night before getting caught. And then I played as Jack and got caught on the first turn. Actually, the first night, I was too clever, and then I played again and I escaped all four nights. And he's like, oh. And so people can disagree on these things. How replayable is it? Do I want to play it again? Yes, I do. Like, if somebody was like, "Do you want to play Letters of Whitechapel?" Like, if one of your groups wanted to play it, I would totally play with you guys. And I had, and usually every semester I do play board games with you guys. And so, how excited am I to play tic tac toe? No, no, I don't want to play tic tac toe. I played tic tac toe with my daughter when she was 2, and I would beat her. That was kind of fun. She hated it. It's not fair. You always win. But Letters from Whitechapel, I would be excited to play that game again. Founders of Gloomhaven, I would like to play that game again. So you're gonna review it, and then I'm probably gonna add a couple fields of like, what did you like about it, what did you dislike about it, and that's your homework. You guys have any questions? And play it with your group. Okay. All right. So that is your homework assignment. Play board game. Actually, I said video game. No, I don't. I don't want it to be a video game. I want you guys to play it on tabletops. Let me edit that fast. Pick an interesting board game on tabletop simulator. Interesting means not kids games like Monopoly, Night 4, and play it with your group. When you're done, review, discuss, like, analyze the game. You're in a group with Pellerina. Yeah. Or you can form a group in 50B if you want. Actually, that might work a little better because your homework assignments are going to be different. For this one though, it should be fine. Let's see, what do we got right now? Yeah. So Prado, why don't you just do this one with these guys, and then later on we'll for the programming assignments we'll split you off. Okay. No shoots and ladders. I played shoots and ladders with my daughter also, and she hated it. She's like, "There's no control over the game." I'm like, "Yeah, that's why it was made." Did you guys know that? It was actually it was made in India to teach kids they have no control over their life. It's literally from this belief of like karma, like or not even karma, but like destiny, right? And so good things are going to happen to you, bad things are going to happen to you. There's nothing you can do about it. You absolutely have no control over your life. You're going to get bitten by a snake, or you're going to marry a prince, and it's all random. Like there's no strategy in shoots ladders. You just roll the die and move, and then good and bad things happen to you. My daughter hated it. There's no decision making. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like, come on. And I kept beating her too. That was the funny thing. How are you so good at this game? violent, violent game. Snakes eating you. This has to be done by next Tuesday, Mr. Weaver. Next Tuesday. So if you go onto Canvas, modules will have all the things you need to do. I've got lectures of all the different from summer. I recorded all my lectures, and so they're all there for your perusal. Um, and so week one, the module has the assignment in it, and that'll be due next Tuesday at 2:30. Good. It wasn't even on. It wasn't even real dice. It was a virtual app. Hackers. Okay, so that's it, guys. Hopefully you're excited. I mean, games, dude. Games are fun. Okay. It's gonna be a good time. And if you guys are ever playing board games, you want me to join you for board games, especially if it's a game I know, I'm more than willing to pop in and play with you guys. Okay. We're gonna make video games. Yep. Playing on the weekends good. Yeah. All right. I will see you guys later. I'll see you on Thursday, 2:30. Peace.